I have Bob and Risa.
Call the meeting to order, please. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would anybody like to offer an invocation? Carol?
Lord God, thank you for letting us live in a place where we can gather together as a group. Let this be as according to your word that tonight all things work for good to those called according to your purpose. We ask this for this group. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carol. Roll call. Bob Russell here. Risa Briggs.
Here.
George Coons. Here. Steve Rode. Here. Financial agenda item 4. Approval of disbursements February 1st through February 28th, 2014. Susan Shepard is with us tonight. We're starting a new format on the financials. And so walk us through that, Susan, what we should do with this.
Okay. The first thing you should approve the disbursements, which is the check detail. There's some up there and then the board, not people but you. And then the next one, you'll approve the financial report.
So these are the disbursements we paid last month?
Yes.
Okay.
And kind of what you do is like this month, you're going to approve what's to be paid, but next month you actually approve what was paid.
Okay.
Because they really are disbursements until you write the check.
Gotcha.
And then the financial report is, and this is a temporary one until some questions get answered back here, of your financial year-to-date report.
Okay.
And
So when
it's, sorry, a little different format. I put all the general fund together and I put all the equipment reserve fund together, so the revenue and the expenses are with the appropriate fund.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the disbursements for February.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we also have to approve a finance report? Or we do approve it. We don't just note its existence.
No, approve it.
Okay.
There's a couple things on it that are highlighted. I did print them in color. The grant, this grant is in your general fund, however, in your system that will get it fixed is in the reserve fund, but grant monies according to your budget are in your general fund. And the little color things here are just for clarity, tell you what was spent, but the total is still up on the line for the, I'm sorry. And the beginning balances are temporary because there's a transfer that the review says it was done, but I can't find it quickly. So until we get to the bottom of that, but that's tentatively your thing. And I didn't bring one over for the reserve fund, which is it on yours? Nope. Anyway, it's like 200 and some thousand, but it also depends on that transfer from one fund to the other. But it does give you the what was spent and what you brought in.
So
cleaner next time.
So we're approving this, but only portions of it because portions of it aren't correct.
No, you prove. I mean, you know the resources are correct, what you brought in, and then what you've expended this year. Just your beginning balance.
So we're approving basically what's been spent
year to date.
year to date.
Just did the monthly ones, and now you're doing the year to date.
Gotcha. And these other items will be corrected as things pan out.
Right.
Will this eventually be a fiscal year, or will it always be at the first of the year?
This is fiscal year.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm,
It's budget.
okay. Clarifying.
It will always be budget year.
Okay.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve this as Susan explained.
I make a motion that we approve, as Susan explained.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in,
Can I ask, I've heard a lot of stuff about our funds and stuff. All the money appears to be back in the equipment reserve, so it was moved. I thought it went to the general fund in a special account.
never did.
No, that's what last month I said when, I think the confusion is, and a lot of the maybe conflict is that when the board moved it out of the one fund, it's not a fund, it was an account.
Right.
Your funds still are the same, no matter what bank account it's in, the funds are the same.
So that
So
fund is still in the reserve
Yes.
account.
Yes.
I think our previous financial stuff didn't show it that way, so that's maybe why I was confused.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Any other questions, anybody? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? I need a motion to approve the last month's meeting minutes. You guys have copies of that were sent out?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay.
Second?
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We need to approve the bills to be paid. You know, to go through those, Risa?
Sure. There will be a Douglas Electric bill, because we already spoke of that, you know. It's
Right, that
it's coming.
$260 bill.
And while I'm on that one, I can just tell you about the update on that, because we have one more month. April has to be the last time we do this, and then starting May, it will be the budget billing from that
Yeah.
point on.
Explain it a little bit more, because we got some people here that never been here before.
Okay, well, we want to go on budget billing with Douglas Electric because it's just easier, especially since we don't always get the bill before it's time to pay it, the way the meetings are set up. And so we've set it up with Douglas Electric to do budget billing so that starting, like I said, after April, we will just pay a flat fee every month when we pay our bills. It'll already be assumed that that's going to cover pretty much what it will be, except by the end of the year, you make up the difference or you have a credit. And so from now on, it'll just be like, I think they said 175 to make sure we cover it. So it'll just be easier. This month is going to be $264.51. Okay, Eileen Eakins is the attorney, and she is $2,480. There is a debit card of $12.15, and that was for,
The air sample from our air system going to the lab.
okay. And Cascade Fire Equipment, $48.38, and
That
that
was
is
to repair the SCBA.
the
broke.
stem, yeah, okay. Then ComSpan, $48, and then.
Can I say something about that one?
Go ahead.
That's done. The ComSpan deal. I'm gonna put that folder in the file, and you guys can do what you want in the future. But that, we got they came in cheaper than Douglas Fastnet, and that's
Right.
done.
So good.
Okay.
Well, that, yeah, I
We'll
thought,
save about $11 a month.
yeah, I thought we did that last month, but that's okay.
But
Okay.
it's still done.
All right. Boundary, batteries, let's see, batteries and something,
Boundary.
electrode set, $122.14.
That's for the new AED that was donated.
And, yeah, and then this is the one, is this the AED?
Those two together add up to the 1,100,
Right.
however many dollars that we talked about last month that was donated to us, and the check is in the.
Yeah, we're gonna do that once, we can do it all at the same time. Ball quartermaster is the uniforms, $125.96. Umpqua Basin, $96.10. That's just theirs. Okay, Tyree Oil is $665.80.
That was building fuel, 200.
That's for out here?
Right.
Okay. And then we have Southern Oregon Wireless, $375, that's for the pagers and repair and testing. Then we have Boundtree for $1,033.30. What is that one for?
That was, that's a duplicate, I think,
Isn't that just a statement for
Is
those
it-
other two invoices?
Is it, okay, then I'll put it with those. Is it
Yeah.
the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then Douglas Electric, like I said, was the 264, and we already have that one. So they said that twice. And batteries and bulbs was $80.28.
That's our quarterly SCBA batteries. That's an expense that's going to keep on
It's, okay,
occurring.
I'm gonna write on here what it is. What,
It's the SCBA batteries, it powers the heads-up display, they're in the masks and the regulators.
okay,
They're all electronically powered.
okay. Balls is $72.15, and that's a lot of nameplates.
Name tags for new guys.
And then we have the news review for $15.26. And then Jonathan Mangrum was an income, so. Then the training is, this is one of your charges for 21-24 to Coastal for bolts and eye bolts and,
We're making a prop for our physical agility testing.
okay. And then the debit card for office was $31.95 to NFPA. And
That
there's,
was
there's a-
one of the standards, I'm not sure which one it is.
and it says home fire extinguisher, something.
Okay, we had ordered some fire prevention materials from our office budget for extinguishers, smoke detectors, that kind of stuff.
Well, this SBCA must go with the, this is with the other, with the debit card then, okay. And the NFPA is the $117.95, that's a separate one for automotive fire apparatus.
1911, yeah, the standard.
Okay. And then this is for a eye wash, $37.40. Granger for $48.24. This was a debit card, and this was also for the eye wash station.
One of them was signs that we placed out there, and the other one's a preservative that has to be put into a quarter.
Okay, Douglas County Fire Chiefs is a membership of $100. Medical training to Carl Bolden is, that should also be $100. And then batteries and bulbs was, that's the same one, okay. I'll put that with the other one in a minute. And Anna's Consultants for annual breathing air tests, $380.68. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to approve those bills.
I make a motion that we pay the bills as we gone through and checked. Steve, I'd like to point out that in the future, I will not allow a bill to be paid if an invoice is not accompanying it. Just a statement is not good enough.
Okay, if you
Okay.
have a specific thing, let me know, okay?
Well, I was getting confused a little bit, and that was the point that I was bringing up with Bob.
Okay.
I think that as long as everybody understands that invoices have to go with statements.
Okay.
We had a problem with that with the previous board, and we don't want to get into that situation again.
I've been trying to catch them in the mail as they're coming through. It's been kind of hard lately, and that's why we're getting duplicates, but we'll try to do that.
Well,
Also, I want to say.
we can work out a situation where you have the invoices, and if you have any, just give me a call or send me an email.
One other thing I did, just to let you guys know, is last month, the meeting got so busy, I had on my sheet that I was gonna put in building fuel, which was 200 gallons, which ended up being over $600. I did not get your approval. So you guys just found that out.
Yeah, when I read the bill.
This winter, I'm not sure, I think turning down the thermostat, we've gone from $2,500 last winter to $600 this year, so.
Well, that's good.
It's quite a savings.
Anyway, I second.
Well, I'd like George to explain his motion just a little bit more, because this has farther reaching consequences than just tonight.
Oh,
Well,
Because
no,
his-
this is an ongoing thing. That I would like to see invoices to go with statements. And quite honestly, I don't see how we can pay off a statement if we don't have an invoice showing what we actually ended up with. And I think it should be an ongoing thing throughout the whole year, and we shouldn't have to ask for it. As long as we work together, we can, you know, get the invoice to the statement if the statement comes in separately.
Well, may I suggest we make two different motions? One is to do that now and in the future, and the other motion is to approve the bills that Risa just went through.
Would it be better to have a separate folder, Steve? Because this one says bills to pay. Would it be better to have one that's just invoice, that's just like packing slips and things like that?
Or
So
purchases.
some of the companies invoice, they bill us by giving us an invoice. Other companies, I get the invoice on the order and then they bill us
Mhm.
later, so it's not the same for every company. As long as that bills to pay is on, is it gonna be staying in the front desk? Then I
Yes.
can put invoices,
Yes.
I'll try to match them up to it.
Yeah, just that's where it always does.
So I still think we should make this as two motions.
Okay, well, he made one,
Okay, we'll modify it.
Modify however you'd like to.
Let's modify it and make the second portion as a separate motion, then we'll vote on that. Which is that we need invoices to go with the statements. And in the future, that's the only way we're going to pay, is to have a statement and an invoice together.
One, the other thing that I'd like to add into this is that Susan is going to be completing this entire review and setting us up on how we proceed in the future, is that she may have another
Facet?
facet, yes, the multifaceted, that's right, another idea as to how to do this.
Okay.
So I don't have any problem with what you're saying at all,
Yeah.
but I would just like to leave it somewhat open so that when she gets done with her work, we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Did you, the only, I mean, I agree, don't pay off of a statement, because it really, if an auditor looked at it, it doesn't say anything, but not all invoices are gonna have a statement. Just pay off the invoices. If you get a statement, some companies send them, some don't, but always just pay off your invoice.
As long as they describe what we're paying for.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
do we understand doing?
question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Point of order, you got two motions going at the same time.
And that's why I'm trying to straighten that out. at the moment.
Okay.
It was, we want to have, we actually had one motion that had two items included into it. It didn't make sense. So we're
But you
revising
still
that
have-
two motions.
You need
That's
to
right.
deal with one and
One at a
then-
time. That's where he is, so
Okay.
you still got the floor, George.
Okay. Did you want to add anything at this time, Susan?
So you-
Okay. So, are we going to proceed with the first one where we are doing with the statements and accompanying the...
We can do that one first, sure.
Okay.
That motion.
Well, that's the one I just reiterated and...
State it again for clarity.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that in the future, we will only pay bills where the invoice is accompanying the statement. Unless there is a statement that identifies what we actually are paying for. So we don't just get a statement that says, your bill is X number of dollars. Okay?
Sounds good? So we have a motion.
Reversed. Invoice comes always, statements don't always come. So it's reversed to what you said.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Want me to change it back?
You can if you like. It's your motion.
So, okay, I've gone through this so many times, where exactly are we at now?
You're just making a motion to only pay bills when we have invoices. Itemized invoices, that's basically the context of it so far.
Okay. Along with the statement. But if we have a statement that doesn't have an invoice, it has to be included into the motion. Correct?
Yes.
But it has to identify what we're paying, otherwise we can't pay on it.
We need to get this down to where we all understand what this is.
Okay, well, we're going to pay, okay, the motion is that we will only pay the bills an invoice. Is that okay? Is it backwards
Yeah.
still?
We can do that, sure.
That's good.
That's good.
Second.
Everybody out there got that? Any questions?
Write it down for.
I did.
A petty cash
Before we change
invoice,
it again.
a debit card invoice from Home Depot that says what's on the receipt, that's not an invoice, then I'll have to get a written one from them, is that what you're saying?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay,
As long as it says on there, that'd be good.
okay, just,
Yeah.
If I, where we are with that,
Debit cards are, that's your receipt.
Yeah.
really, all that you're really looking for, right, is just that we just know what we're paying for.
Right, exactly.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. Anybody have any comments? That was interesting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the bills to pay.
All right, there we go. Now we got them both.
Now we're going back, okay.
You have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Jerry?
I believe one of the bills was approximately $2,400 to a lawyer,
Yes.
and I don't see anything budgeted specifically for lawyers unless it's coming out of professional services,
Mhm.
which is only $5,750 budgeted.
Right?
Correct.
And I would guess that that's the amount, or the fund out of which payment to Susan would be coming also.
Susan has been good enough to postpone her payment till the next budget.
You can't normally do that. You have to pay in the same fiscal year as the services provided.
Well, I guess we'll see.
You really need to pay it when it's billed, but I'm not done.
Well,
And I will be going into do the budget for the next year, so it'll be, I pay a lot of bills in my next fiscal year that happen in one because there's not a,
so what's your accrual basis? I mean, what is your accounting basis you're using then?
What is our what?
Accounting basis. Let them answer, please. What is your accounting basis that you're using? That will determine if you pay in the same year or you're able to pay a service in the year after.
Well, to be honest, I don't understand the question.
You mean like a cash basis?
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's what you're using?
yeah. That would be what we would use.
Okay.
So any more discussion on that? All those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Let's see here. Here's a topic that is on the agenda. We have audience requesting to address the board on any non-agenda topics. This is something that's come up. These are items that anybody out there has a question about or comment about that isn't on the agenda. If you could just, we'll have a sign-up sheet. You can just sign up and we'll bring that up down at the bottom in public comment so that we don't miss an item that for some reason maybe should have been on the agenda, didn't make it. And this does not, as it states right here, it does not change the policy that we have already put into place where if you have a question, you hold up your hand and it's addressed at that moment. We are not making anybody wait until the end of the meeting. That's not what's happening. This is only for things that are non-agenda items. They're not a topic that we have on the agenda. Does that make sense to everybody? We're keeping the raise your hand policy in place. That is not changing. Okay? Number 6, old business. Susan, you have the floor. Independent review status.
can I do it from you, do I have to stand up?
You can do it anywhere they can hear you.
Okay, it's just kind of, I really hadn't planned on recording, I was just coming down here, and as was stated last month, I never really thought about it, but no, I don't charge you for coming down here because I wasn't asked, I just came because I have an interest and wanted to look at the computer. So basically where I'm at now, I did report last time, where I'm at now, lots of things have happened between then and now. The one thing I'm working on is with the Department of Revenue to correct the budget for the fiscal year you're in now. The appropriation, tell me if you don't know these words. It doesn't mean you don't know anything. It's just that they're stupid government financial words. Appropriation is where you have to pass a resolution to be able to spend the money that you budgeted. Your resolution that was filed with the assessor's office does not match your budget. Work with Department of Revenue, they will go with the budget. And it was tried to be corrected, which made it worse because it's not corrected. So we're back to the original. Trust me, you don't want Department of Revenue to come down here. They're getting very frustrated with all the calls. So do not call them, just ask me or ask somebody, but try to limit your call to them for questions that are easy. And so we're going to work on the 13-14 budget to get through this year following the budget. And then we're going to get on another track for next year. I'm going to be the budget manager, and we're going to try to, I'm going to work with Steve and the board, and we're going to make it real clear, break things down clearer so you're going to know exactly what you bought. I just noticed on the check detail, there's no memo line, so you don't really know what you bought. Like, there needs to be a memo, like batteries for SCBAs, you know, everything's right there, you don't have to ask. And then for future budgeting, it also helps for that. 1213, just a little side note, 1213 resolution wasn't done correctly either. Greg from Department of Revenue said he will not look as long as we get back on track, and we will. So 1112 was. So 14, 15, we're going to move in a different direction. We're going to set the budget calendar, and we'll get, I'm going to meet with them a little bit afterwards to kind of have a little briefed it out as to a little more line item dollars, not I'm spending $5,000 in this line item and I'm buying all these things. More like line it out. How much is each one going to cost? Financial report you got the board meeting will be pretty much the same format, just going to have a lot of history, hopefully next month. Not having very good luck with Mr. Davidson giving me the information I need, so we'll go about it a different way.
Excuse me, who's Mr. Davidson?
Tom Nooner Davidson.
Tom
Is that
Davidson,
right?
the old CPA.
New
Oh,
Davidson
okay.
and Cooley.
Nooner Davidson, sorry. Yeah, he's the auditor, and he was doing, I thought he was doing reviews. He's not doing reviews. He's doing in lieu of, and so I learned some new terminology there with him, and so you only had actual one audit, which was your very first year in 4-5. Why you paid so much money
Well,
since then.
I just needed to know who he
Yeah.
was. I don't need a dissertation
Yeah, so he's the
about.
one I thought would have answered.
Well, we'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Okay, so, so I got that. So and then, down in your budget, I see that you're going to be getting a CPE, and I'm extremely excited about that, because it's a really good thing, and it's the backbone for the fire district. I call mine all the time. It's who works with you and gets you, stays on track. So right now, my priority is, I'm not looking back. We're going to fix this budget year. We're going to get on a new one, and then we'll fix the rest of it. We're going to get on a path that will make Department of Revenue go yahoo. Because everybody in Department of Revenue knows Lookingglass fire. So I'm like, oh.
So, Susan, how close are you with Greg Kramer and the gang there?
Real close. The computer froze up, so I thought I'd have more information for the meeting, but probably user error when I was getting into it, trying to print too much stuff too fast. So I will look and see. And I can tell you, just when you appropriate money in your budget, you have an ending fund balance. And when it says ending fund balance, you're not spending that. That's unappropriated money. In your resolution for appropriations that went to the county, it shows it appropriated. So we just have to go back to the budget. That's the document they honor, because that was the one that the budget committee was approving, not the resolution, so he said, follow the budget. So we're going to do that.
Okay, and then how critical is the cooperation of Tom Davidson in finishing all these things?
You know, Mr. Hatch, no. I don't know these people. Who sat here last time?
Jim
The
Hooten.
store guy.
Jim
He
Hooten.
has some documents that he said he wouldn't let me look at, that maybe would have helped. I don't know. If they would help, they would be helpful, but what I was trying to figure out is what was given to Mr. Davidson where he got his numbers. I can't get his ending numbers to match his beginning numbers. I found an error. I call it an error. He calls it the line didn't show up. But his numbers didn't add up, but it was a line that was hidden that didn't show up. But so I got that answered, and I just was wondering if there was something that wasn't showing in the books, something that he got. But I think we're just going to, I might even ask the new CPA's idea of maybe we'll just draw a line. We get it pretty close. Transfers is always, your budget shows it, but I don't know if they're done or not. The reviews say they were done, but I can't find them, so I presume they weren't done. There's a lot. When I go down here, it's like this. But, yeah. But we'll find it. We'll get on track, and it is important to police department revenue. Trust me. Trust me.
Does anybody have any questions of Susan?
Sorry.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of Susan on the board? No. I assume you're Steve.
I am. Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Bob Russell.
Nice to meet you all.
Risa Briggs. George Coons.
I know this guy.
This is our Chief Steve Rhodes. This is Steve Teixeira. Is that correct pronunciation?
Teixeira.
Teixeira.
Or any other way you want to say it.
Steve comes very highly recommended by multiple fire districts. His biggest campaigner is Greg Marlar, the chief at Doug 2 and acting chief of Winston, and I guess working on being chief of Sutherland to keep going. And we've had conversations about coming on board and effectively being our CPA that we can go to on a question and answer basis. He's provided us with a proposal that outlines a number of different methods that we can use to take advantage of his services. At this point, it would just be more calling him up and saying, hey, Steve, we need you to look at this, or what are we doing right, wrong, what should we do better? And he was gracious enough to come here tonight and introduce himself and offer himself up for questions. So it's all yours, Steve. Didn't know you were going to have
It's
that.
tax season right now, so I'm like overwhelmed with it. Just a quick review of my experience, I guess, to start with. I've been CPA and municipal auditor for 25 years, just about now. Which probably should mean that I should be checked into a loony bin somewhere, but I'm still here. So my expertise is mostly with relatively small local governments. I audit about 20 small cities and school districts and fire districts. I kind of have a passion for trying to help out. I was on the Roseburg City Council for 5 years, up until a couple years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer that I'm now free of, I hope.
Good for you.
But it was a great excuse to get off the city council, so. It's a thankless job. You have to appreciate what board volunteers do. But anyway, I would be happy to get you guys squared away some more in terms of policies, procedures, help with the budget, answer any questions, provide I guess one of the things that I try and do is make things clear in layman's terms, because you can spin things out in all this accounting lingo and it means nothing to anybody. And that's pretty much what I'd say my forte is just keeping things straight and simple. And when anytime I'm here, if you have a question, and my answer is like not making sense, I want to know about it so I can have it make sense. There's a lot of little details in running a small government that if you don't get them right can certainly cause a lot of problems down the line. One of which that you alluded to, and I'll just touch on very briefly, is when you have included in the budget transfers from one fund to another. And I go through this an awful lot with a lot of my clients. There can be, according to board policy or district policy, the requirement that a board resolution be adopted, or at least a motion made to actually make those transfers. That's not always how it goes in a lot of places, and it always ends up being an issue for us when we're auditing. If the board policy or the district policy is that if it's budgeted, it's made, then that's fine, so be it. If that board policy doesn't exist, then there should be something in the minutes that directs the bookkeeper or whoever to actually make that transfer. What you're going to run into is you've got all these years of these budgeted transfers were made or not made, and who knows whether they should have been or shouldn't have been. Or and the good news is all of the district money is still the district money. And whether it's in the reserve fund or the general fund or wherever it is, you can always make corrective action as to what shoulda, woulda, coulda been done in the past in the current year. So try not to let that bog you down too much in terms of where you're at with fund balances and where the fund balance should be. Ultimately, one of the things that we have to work with these days in governmental accounting is this creature called GASB 54. GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and they issue all these dang regulations and how to do this and how to do that. And I swear to God, if I could pay them $100,000 to just take a break for a year, I would. But they just keep kicking out more and more stuff. Well, 54 was issued a few years ago that basically says that for financial reporting purposes at the end of the year, any fund that isn't separately receiving revenue because of its purpose, the fund's purpose, gets combined with the general fund for financial reporting purposes. Not for budgetary purposes, but for financial reporting purposes. It's all one big happy fund, general fund. And what a board has to do, has as a tool to work with, is the different levels of essentially reserving dollars within any fund. 5 different levels of, I forget the term, but essentially reserve. So within the general fund, let's say you have $50,000, and you know that you're not going to spend all of that by the end of the year, and that really $10,000 of that is for a specific purpose rather. I don't know what that was. Slip of the tongue. Anyway, for a specific purpose. And you can adopt a resolution that says, we commit as a board that $10,000 for that purpose. That isn't necessarily a budgetary line item. That is just a designation by the board saying, here you go, public, this is why that money's there. We don't intend to spend it, and this is what the purpose at this point is for that money. It relieves you of really having to worry about ending fund balances.
Or earmarking everything.
Exactly. I mean, it helps. And the good news is you can make that designation of dollars one month and change it the next if it suits the needs of the district. So those kinds of things are the sort of the details that may help overall operations, communications with the public. Just, I mean, that would be my goal for you guys, is to really get the community back on track together and, you know, do some education of what cannons should be, and just like the question with the basis of county, it's a great question. Cash basis is, for most local governments, that's the mode of accounting. It's not necessarily the best accounting when you're trying to figure out what the commitments are that have been made by the district, but it's a basis of accounting that's used for a lot of budgeting and it's.
Well, I was very taken with the letter you wrote when I read that and thought you did an excellent presentation.
No, thank you.
Anything else, Steve?
Not. I mean, I would be happy to answer any questions. You know, I'm here of my own free will. I'm not charging by the hour right now. I'd be happy to help. I know. You know, like I said, I kind of have a passion for this stuff, and maybe I'm nuts, but I like to try and help out.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on using a modified accounting?
Modified accrual basis
Is that
of
what
accounting?
most governments
Well,
do?
modified accrual basis of accounting, just so people understand what that means. Modified accrual, it's a mouthful in terms of what it sounds like, and essentially it's accrual basis accounting, which means you recognize expenses as they are incurred, and you recognize revenues when they are earned, as opposed to cash basis where you recognize expenditures when you're paid and revenues or receipts when they are received. Modified has only to do with revenues, and what modified accrual means is that you only recognize revenues that were earned and received within 60 days after the end of the fiscal year. So it's kind of a current available resources model of accounting, because you're only looking forward into the future 60 days for revenues. Yeah.
What does that do to we can get tax payments 12 months a year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what does that do to that when
It's a good question. So
the late payments and
So by the time if you adopt a modified accrual basis of accounting, your revenues will start including the July and August tax receipts, the receipts that are received in July and August. Those would be now considered revenue in the prior year because it's within 60 days of the end of the fiscal year. And then you have to do this one-time adjustment if you make that adoption to then be sure not to double count the 2 months from the beginning of that fiscal year. So that would be a one-time adjustment to your fund balance. It would increase your fund balance by whatever you collected in July and August, which isn't much, quite honestly. And by the time you get to the second year and you're not counting the July and August from the prior year or the beginning of the year, but you're counting the July and August from the current year, it doesn't really change things much in terms of actual revenues. Just to compound the thought a little bit, I don't want to over-speak my place here, but if you looked at things from a full accrual method, which is not an accepted budgetary basis of accounting, but if you were, then you would include all of the taxes levied in the year that they were levied, whether you collect them or not, as revenue. But we don't do that. We do get to do that when you have audited financial statements because we have to do these full accrual reports and modified accrual and cash. Sometimes it's crazy. But anyway, so I can't say that for a district like this there's a huge benefit to modified accrual, but it is good to know that if you, for budgetary purposes and knowing that, you know, you're incurring these expenses, it's good to get some estimate of where you're going with things for sure. But it's, if you're accounting for and budgeting for things on a cash basis, it's not inappropriate to incur expenses and wait till the next year to pay them. So, because you're on a cash basis. And very briefly, the other thing that I want to emphasize for you just real quick, like, if you will, is the importance of the budgetary line items versus the importance of the appropriations as they are in the appropriation resolution. And by Oregon budget law, what matters for legal authorization to spend money is determined by the appropriation resolution that the board adopts once a year after the budget's been passed or approved. And those, the dollar amounts on, and the accounting groups that are on the appropriation resolution are supposed to be, and I haven't seen the resolution, but I'm guessing that they were clusters of accounts that would fit into this personal services or personnel services. So that's $1 amount, all of the budgetary line items combined together, $1 amount for personnel expenses. So if you go over one line item but under on another within that group, you're fine, as long as you don't go over the total appropriation amount at that grouped level. And same with materials and services. Budgets are just that. They're a guide. They help you sort of figure out where you're going. The appropriations are a legal authorization to spend. Appropriations can be modified during the year. You can do a supplemental budget with an appropriation resolution that reflects the change in the budgets. So there's a lot of flexibility there. The idea behind all of the supplemental budget and appropriation resolutions that reflect those changes are to just make sure that you stay within the appropriated dollar amounts. And if, for example, you had an urgent expenditure and you didn't appropriate for originally, you can still increase your appropriation by spending that. Now, one of the challenges is with the unappropriated fund balance, you can't shift that up into appropriated. You can move money between personal services and materials and services, capital outlay. You can take appropriations from the general fund, if you need them, down in the reserve fund and transfer those appropriations down to the reserve fund, but you can't do the other. But you can always create a supplemental budget that then allows you to increase your appropriations by recognizing that there's more revenues than you thought there was, or I'm starting to get dried out here. But anyway, I'll stop right there. It's yeah, I should probably get them. Anyway, you know, that hopefully gives you some sense of how I operate, what I
Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. Anybody got another question? One question when I went through the proposal you prepared for us, is you approached everything from kind of a task, teamwork-oriented basis. What is your hourly?
Well,
does it change from moment to moment?
It depends on what I'm doing. There's a lot of things that I would have my staff do that is at a lower rate than what I do. I can sing better than that.
Geez, who's in that, Barbara?
Don't you hate that? My rate at my office is $180 an hour for tax work.
That's good.
I'm pretty flexible with working. Well, I will say this, one of the things that I have in my professional goals is creating this company, and we're in the middle of it now, called Government Resource Management, GRM. The idea behind that is that there are lots of little governments like this that can use a little bit of help getting things figured out. Also, there may be a lot of available resources available to local governments that aren't being tapped into, that might help local governments to move forward with some projects. So our goal in this company is to aid small local governments in a lot of different ways. We might make we're putting together a website that's going to have a lot of different documents that may help, template type things. An awful lot of what's available to local governments through Special Districts Association or League of Oregon Cities is designed for bigger governments that doesn't really apply to small governments. So with that in mind, one of the things that we don't have is we don't have any stars by our name yet in this business. We don't have any clients yet. So being able to work with a government like Lookingglass for what I'm going to tell you is going to be a pretty good bargain for you guys. There's a little bit of a special reason for that for me, because it's going to give me a star by my name if I can help out some. And in the long run, we're building a lot of things like a reasonably worded and sized internal control document that makes sense for a small government like this, that really works to guide what goes on. And if I can build that for you guys here, I can copy that and use it in a lot of other places.
Great.
So you guys are like my guinea pig if you
Hey,
let me.
that's all right.
If you let me. Okay? So full disclosure there.
There we go. Cool. Any other questions? I'd like to have a motion to bring Steve onto the team.
I move that we bring Steve onto the team.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Welcome aboard, Steve. We will very much welcome you aboard.
Right. Okay. Well, anytime, you know, I encourage public to be involved, and I'd be happy to answer questions from the public anytime. I want to make sure that the process for that questioning is, you know, I mean, I'm a good guy to talk to, period. You know, well, I don't know if I am or not, but I'd like to think I am anyway. But if you have questions, I think it would be appropriate to run those through the district for the most part. I mean, if you catch me on the street, I'll talk your ear off a bit.
Yes, Jerry?
So is the intention that Steve and or Susan will be involved with the budget committee in preparing next year's budget?
Potentially.
Yeah, I'm not engaged to do anything specifically, so, and I sure don't want to step on toes. I want to help, right? So, I'm here to help in whatever way I can at this point.
We're trying to set up a system here that's a complete team system.
Yeah.
So everybody complements each other. So Susan will finish her work to whatever point she feels that's appropriate. And if she needs to consult with Steve, she will do so. If at the end of Susan's work and Steve is carrying on his relationship with us, well then hopefully that will be some steering of the people on the board, whether it's this board or the next board, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of what we're trying to put together here. So, again, welcome. You're welcome to stick around if you'd like. It's kind of like watching paint dry, but you're welcome to do it.
You know, I appreciate that. It's a terrible time of year for me right now. With
Not really. Come on.
I know. I'm
You got another month here.
It's not even April yet.
Well, I'll be real honest with you. I've worked a lot harder in the past, but I've committed myself to not working quite so hard because I think I worked myself right into a case of cancer a couple years ago. So I'm trying real hard not to do that. I know. Anyway, I will take my leave and again, I'd be happy to come back. You know, it's all of about a 10-minute drive for me to get here. my wife is working tonight, so she doesn't care where I'm at.
All right, Steve, thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys.
And thank you guys.
Take care.
My hat's off.
We will be in contact. We already covered the Douglas Electric deal. Lisa covered that earlier. We need to seriously schedule a town hall community meeting. We've been trying to do this now for 3 meetings. So it'd be nice to at least point towards a date.
Okay.
How soon do you want to do it?
Well, I think we should do it sometime. I would like to see us do it between now and the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Because we got an awful lot of things going on between now and the next board meeting. And that'll give us a chance to get this taken care of before we get into all the budget stuff.
But not next week, week after.
Oh yeah, at least, I'd say 3 weeks from now. The week before the next board meeting or something like that.
Okay, that would put us in the first week in April.
Okay, well, we also have, just so that we start talking about dates, we'll just discuss 2 things all at once here. Special districts would like to have the board member responsibilities workshop. And that either has to be on the 22nd of March, the 29th of March, or the 5th of April. It's 2 hours.
What day is the 22nd? Is that
Saturday.
Saturday?
I think they're all Saturdays. And he's willing to come anytime on those days.
29th and what's,
And the 5th
and the 5th of April.
Mhm.
Which is the
22nd's fine with me.
22nd's good with
Sooner the
me.
better.
Okay, so so that's done deal, and we can't do the community meeting on that day.
No,
But I was thinking a community meeting would probably be better in the evening.
yes.
Yeah,
So can we do one like either the last week of March or the first week of April? And we also have to double check as to where we're gonna have it, so we'll have to make those arrangements too.
that would make it the 5th of April if you're going to have it the first week of April on a Saturday.
No, not gonna be on Saturday, it's gonna have to be in the evening during the week.
Friday.
No, because they have the Friday market if we're gonna do Grange.
We either do Grange or we can do school, we just have to check.
Well, I just said we didn't want to compete with the Friday market unless it would be later.
Well, how about if we take and narrow it down to a week, and then I'll do some checking as to what's available.
Well, the first week of April is fine, so the 4th, 3rd, 4th, whatever, Thursday, Friday, you wanna, what
The
evening?
first week of April, from the 1st through the 5th, you're saying?
Yeah.
So what day is the 1st? The 1st is a Tuesday?
Yeah.
And so the 1st through the 4th, because we're not, does anybody want to do this on a weekend? I was thinking. What's everybody out there think? Anybody care? Yeah, Carol?
You're talking about, one of the dates you said was a Tuesday?
Yeah,
The 1st is a Tuesday.
I know, it's coming.
April Fool's Day.
And I've got a meeting that day.
Okay, so that doesn't work.
Wednesday's
So now we're the 2nd through the 4th.
Mhm.
Yeah, the 2nd would work, or the 4th.
So Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'll just check those.
And find
So
out.
we'll,
Now, you're saying Grange first or school or what?
Wednesday or Thursday?
we're just gonna have to find out.
Okay.
I don't know what's available. Then we're gonna have to have some way of getting this information out.
Mhm.
I mean, we're kind of running as we think here, which would require having a special meeting or something to discuss that issue. Unless we postpone it until after our next meeting and get really serious then, but then we're right in the middle of budget. I'd rather do it sooner than later.
Well, it can go out as a notice in the paper again, and then it can go on the marquee.
Yeah, I know, we just have to have a special meeting, a special public meeting in order to discuss it, once we establish a date. Is everybody willing to live with that? Yes, sir.
Were you going to send a letter out
Yes.
before?
Yes, we've already approved that.
Okay. So you're going to announce the meeting date in that letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we good?
Yeah, he was asking about Dave Pennicook's meeting on the 22nd.
Yeah, Dave Pennicook's meeting will be the 22nd.
And what time?
I have to talk to him,
Okay.
but he said he could do it anytime during the day. Do you guys care, morning, afternoon? I'll leave it up to him because he's the guy running crazy.
Yeah, that's fine.
It'll probably be morning by what I got from his conversation.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so that's done. Special district workshop's done. We need 2 more board members. Anybody have anybody out there that's crazy enough to do it? That would sure be cool. Item G.
Question?
Yes, Jerry.
Board members, can you explain to us who's taking over the responsibilities of those 2 vacant positions? Because I noticed that the notice and agenda for this board meeting did not go up to, for the community to have access to that information. There was no notice of this meeting.
For the,
Yet somebody
there was no
updated-
agenda, you mean, for this meeting?
There was no agenda and there was no notice of this meeting
In the legal?
on the website.
Oh, the website's being revamped right now.
Okay,
So
so
it's-
it's state that this meeting is occurring.
The website issue is going to be addressed here in a second. Taj Gumbard is going to take that over and revamp the website, so we'll be,
So are you going to pass a motion for that? Because in procedural policies, it states that that's the communication officer's responsibility.
we are, when we get to that one.
And is somebody going to be taking responsibility for writing up and then getting posted the monthly treasurer's reports?
We are.
Okay.
And agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
And
Karen.
that's,
Who? I'm doing the treasury reports and the agendas.
You doing the treasurer's duties, all of them?
Will be.
Whereas 478250 says the secretary treasurer, the secretary can do the treasurer job, and that's it. So, you can't do it.
Okay, well then, maybe then Risa will do it.
Well, Reese's the only one that can at this point, according to the ORS.
I had to unstick the copier and dig them out today, so I guess that's part of it.
Any other questions on that? Item G, we responded back to the attorney's response letter, and we're waiting to hear back from them on the request for Freedom of Information Act information. Item 7, got anything to report on Vice President stuff, George?
Nothing. I did get a new update this evening from Steve on the vehicle inventories.
Good.
And I discussed with him about the items that if we pull them off of the inventory of the vehicles, that we need an accompanying inventory sheet as the disposition of the items, whether
Okay.
they were put in storage or put in surplus or just what the status is on them.
Okay,
So
good.
Steve's gonna get the other items that he removed from the trucks. And he has moved some of the shelters around from one vehicle to another. And that's what I've got an update on.
Good.
Okay?
Good. Any correspondence?
Yeah, I got a letter here from, let's see, it is Don Trotter, President of the Oregon Fire District Directors Association, just explaining that what they are and what they do, and there's a membership application if we choose to look over.
Didn't we already address that organization?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was,
Because this one just came in not that long ago, so.
yeah, but that was the same thing that Genoa Ingram sent us that package on, and we voted to table it and not get involved because of the getting involved with special districts.
And then there was a letter from Rachel Carlson addressing the SCBA cylinders and working with firefighters, and it included fast fact sheets. And Steve, you'd probably like to read this.
Who's that?
Yeah, that should go to Steve.
Rachel Carlson. So, that's the only actual correspondence that's come in.
Okay, Chief's report, Steve?
You guys heard about the bill for the air system testing. We signed a contract with, or didn't sign a contract, a service is being provided to us by Anderson Consultant in Portland. They were the cheapest one. It's $380 a year. It's a quarterly test. They send us a cylinder, we fill it and send it back. And he's going to base the maintenance of our compressor and our air fill station will come from the results of those tests every year. So we would probably estimate that the bids I've been getting for the air compressor and the testing have been around $600, but some of that is the air testing. So I'm going to guess that annually to biannually we'll probably have about a $300 bill to maintain the compressor itself and the machine output. That's Oregon OSHA, they require a semi-annual testing of our air system, and the newest NFPA standards are quarterly. So that's what the companies are doing quarterly. That's our reading here. At this time, we don't have any problems. And this initial test is going to give us the status of our filters and everything on our compressor. We had one SCBA that failed during one of our drills a couple weeks ago. It's back. It was $48. I would expect it a lot more. The new AED has been placed on engine 1030, the one that was donated, and the inventory has been updated. We talked about comp span. Eyewash signs, we installed eyewash signs above the eyewash. We also put one outside. There's a preservative that has to be added quarterly, and that's about $50 per year that expense would be. Let's see. I had contact and responded to a taxpayer up on Gem Drive initiating an annexation process, so that should probably come through you guys pretty soon.
It was Gem Drive?
Yeah. We helped with the Grange dinner. Did we talk about that last one? Sure. They made about $300, I think, on that night on the pancake dinner. Thanks for everybody that attended. That was awesome. That was one of their more successful ones they've ever had, I believe. Huh? 280. I finished outfitting most of the new firefighters. The one guy needs turnout still. I don't have 3 bids yet. Ellen Curtis, the one that's always had the best bid. Our sales agent with him is switching companies right now, and I'm just having trouble getting bids. But it's all going to level out here soon. The guy is still, the one guy we're trying to outfit's a big dude. We don't have gear for him, and he's still in the Firefighter 1 Academy. I have wildland gear, so he's able to wear that gear while we're training around here. We have a remaining, any other gear remaining is, we got wildland boots. We still haven't got for 3 or 4 guys. That usually goes through a contract with Coastal. I'll get some bids on those. So. I got a second bid on the maintenance for 1080, the Chevy brush truck, and I'll schedule that before fire season. We'll find the lowest one. I'll come back. They've all been below $500 so far. I've initiated contact with pump test companies for annual pump tests for our engines. Last year, this company out of Washington beat Hughes equipment out of Eugene by about $200 a unit. It's all, the travel expense is what kills us. So as long as that guy can schedule testing with other fire departments around here, he can get down here for that price. And I'm trying to coordinate that with other departments, trying to get them to use him so they'll come down here. Let's see. SDAO, Jason Jancy's coming on March 27th to give us a safety inspection of the station, plus the evening drill that night will be a safety meeting based on that inspection and some other safety things to do with code. And that fulfills our part of that best practices deal for SDAO to get us a discount on our insurance. The GSA federal excess property is still in the process. It takes about 6 weeks from the initiation. I haven't heard back yet, other than just to confirm that we had applied. for future vehicles. And then, let's see, just got a thing today from the government about our VFA grants and the FEMA grants have been reduced again for next year's budget by Congress. So it's getting a little tighter every year. I think they're going to cut 5% more, which is about $5 million out of the VFA grant that we got from ODA, from the ministry. And that's, I think that's about all I got. Oh, calls. Who's taking those now?
I am.
February was a slow month, 7 calls. We had our monthly structure fire at LRFD. There was another outdoor silo. A few medical. We had, March has picked up quite a bit. We had a pretty nasty call up towards Colonial Way the other night, a full arrest. 3 or 4 of my people, it was the first time they ever been on a CPR. We went on for about 30 minutes before our medic unit was coming out of Douglas 2 and was from the far side of the world. We moved it up, and I was still trying to figure out why that happened. And it wasn't successful, so we conducted a kind of a debriefing CISD type meeting here Monday night, and I went over everything that happened. I think that worked out pretty good for us as far as talking about it after it was over. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the training stuff. A lot of these people, the volunteers, they do CPR and AED just like anybody else does. And on the first time, I think sometimes what they learn when they walk into a room might go out the window a little bit. So they were, some of them were a little bit shook up, but they're better now, I think. And I think they'll be able to do a lot better job next time too. Douglas 2's medics were happy with what happened. I mean, it wasn't successful, but that's about 75% of the time anyways.
Wow.
That's about it for this.
Anybody have any questions? Yes, Jerry?
Just as a comment, as a member of the Grange, I was at the Grange meeting yesterday, and I just like to reiterate what was said there, that they are extremely grateful to all the firefighter volunteers who were present there to help out physically with everything that was done, but also the very generous monetary donations that the volunteers gave. And you know, that went a long ways to why it was more successful this year in terms of actually having a profit that can then go towards helping to support the community. So Steve, please give the Grange's appreciation to all the firefighters who helped there.
We're hoping
Absolutely.
that would benefit us. That's going to benefit us all in the long run too. We want to use that for future fundraising too. So.
I think that deserves a round of applause from us here. Definitely the kinds of things that need to happen here. Any other questions for Steve?
No, but another statement.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
was voiced last night that anytime you want to use the Grange, use it.
Yeah, well, I know the policies there because I happen to be a member now.
That came up last night and we were wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, new business. We've got a couple of resolutions that were prepared by the attorney after reviewing all of our documents that we have in-house, and she suggests that we adopt these, so I'd like to get a motion to do so. The first policy is a public records policy, and the second one is a professional services contracts policy.
I'll make a motion for the public records policy resolution.
Okay.
Second.
Anybody have any questions?
What's the policy?
It's a document basically describing exactly how we are to prepare public records and how they're to be dispersed, and if people ask for them. It just basically takes everything that we had in the bylaws that we prepared and enhances that about fourfold. Okay? Anybody can get a copy of this if they like to read it. I don't have any of these, but that's what it's for. We ran into this this situation when we got the request for information due to the Freedom of Information Act. And the clarity that this then brings up will save us attorney's fees in the future. That's basically the prime reason for it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions on that? All those in favor of adopting the public records policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. I also need a motion. I'll just explain this one before somebody asks. This is also enhances the existing bylaw that we wrote. It's a resolution for adopting rules for awarding contracts for professional services. And again, it just covers all of the bases as to how that's to be done, because this was also questioned in that request for Information Act. So if anybody has a question on that. And again, you're all welcome to read these things. They're all just pretty easy to read, pretty understandable. So I need a motion to adopt this.
I make a motion to adopt this.
This being the awarding of contracts for professional services.
And I'll second.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? We have 2 automatic gate agreements that we have before us. These came from Greg Marlar, Chief Greg Marlar at Doug 2 and Winston Dillard. And we had them reviewed by the attorney also. We got them back today, and this is her review copy, as you guys have. And we need to, I'd agree to proceed with this, which would then allow Marlar to take it to his district to get approved. So it'll have to go to both Doug 2's district, which would be Joe Walden would have to sign this, and then it would go to Gary Vess for signature at Winston Dillard. What we're doing is we are updating the automatic assistance agreement for this district to ensure that we have 100% coverage at any moment that we have a temporary non-functioning station for any reason whatsoever. And that's all this is for. And so Marlar wanted to upgrade it. Frankly, it's the due diligence for this board to make sure that these kinds of things are in place, because we never know when those types of things may happen, and that wasn't really explicit in the original automatic gate agreement. And so this is the one that Greg Marlar put together. And we took the one that he put together and had our attorney review it, and she found a couple of things in it that she wanted to cite ORSs in, and so it's now up for that review. So it will go to the other 2 districts after we approve to go forward with this.
Would you like me to do a combined motion for both of them, or one at a time?
I think I prefer them to do one at a time.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to do the one with the auto aid agreement with Douglas County Fire District number 2.
I'll second it.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I was surprised that this was on the agenda because I hadn't heard anything about it. And I talked to Chief Marlowe the other day, and it sounds more like this originated from our board here and not from Douglas 2.
It did originate with this board. That's what I said. It was our due
diligence. What was the
diligence.
reasoning again? I wanted to hear this.
The reasoning again is that there may be a reason that this station becomes non-functional for some temporary period of time.
Okay. And so that just out of the blue, you decided that. I've been here for
We didn't.
a year or so, and I heard these rumors a couple years ago, but I haven't heard any rumors recently. I certainly am not encouraging a walkout or anything, so I'm just wondering what's going on.
Well, this was initiated, Steve, by you sitting in the last board meeting and stating that you were going to resign, and then reneging back and saying, no, you weren't going to resign.
No, I said that you guys could fire me. I never said I was
Yes.
going to resign.
Oh, I beg to differ. When you started that, you said you were going to quit over that mailbox.
I said I didn't quit over that, but that's okay.
Well, the point is it was brought to this board. It's on video. It's been recorded. It did happen, and this board has to watch its own protection of this district and have all of our bases covered. When I went to Greg Marlar and asked him if we were covered, he basically said we have to have this type of an agreement written up. He wrote it up, and that's how it happened. I initiated this with Greg from this board.
Okay, I didn't hear that when you started talking. I want to assure anybody in here that I've never asked anybody in this district to quit if I leave, and I would never do that. And the previous chief never did either, just to let you know.
Okay. Great.
And the automatic aid agreements here affect, if that's what it's for, then that's okay. But if we're signing, we already have an automatic aid agreement with Douglas County. And the reason we went through a lot of thinking when we signed that, because it impacts the coverage of this district. Because with automatic aid agreement, you mandatorily, you're on their alarm, you're theirs. And when they come this way, they're ours.
That's correct.
And
those
that's
are still
why
in
we
place.
never signed one with Winston, because they have about 1,300 calls a year that could affect us. And that's why we stay mutual aid with them.
Well,
And it means that units won't be here in the valley if we have an automatic aid agreement with them.
if I may, I'll just read the first line in this that Greg chose to put into this. It states, this agreement is intended to function during temporary periods when Lookingglass Fire District is unable to respond. That's the purpose. Okay, and that's the only purpose. If that situation doesn't occur, this is superseded by the previous automatic aid, and if it occurs and then is corrected after the fact, then this one goes away. Yes, Karen?
It should only be because one of our roofs blows up.
Well, we can't do that because if we are unable to answer a call, we are unable to answer a call, period.
So that would come into effect, like only one shows up and they have to wait for someone else and no one else is able to come, then the others, then he would ask for one of the others to take it over? Is that what it does?
This would basically be, this agreement is if this station cannot answer a call. If there's a call that goes out in dispatch and there aren't enough people to man the station,
Yeah.
pull out a truck, then this automatically would take effect right then, period. And no, it doesn't make any difference what the reason is for that inability to answer the call. It could be everybody's sick, everybody got stuck in traffic, everybody, got...
Well, I know there's been a time when one will show up and the others are on vacation, it's a holiday and no one else can show up. And so that's when the others would take.
Well, this is actually a little bit more specific than that because this is going to be done within dispatch. It's going to put a priority on the fact that if any member of this board calls up Chief Marlar and says, hey, look, we don't think we can answer a call this week. We don't have trucks that are running, we don't have staff, we don't have whatever it is. Any reason that we can't answer a call, he prioritizes their automatic response to this
Well, the
district.
board wouldn't always know. The chief or the.
Well, the
fire
automatic
would
aid
know.
is there already for that.
This one here is the board I know about, because I know why this was set up, because we're gonna disappear, is what.
No, you're not, because we're.
No, I know that, but this is this is the same agreement they signed with Fair Oaks. Well, I'm telling you what, I'm not a meth user. I've been approved by DPSST, and I'm not, I haven't ordered these guys to walk out, and we're not going, whatever. If I do, there's a lot of reasons that people resign. It could be health reasons, it could be a disagreement with the board or whatever else, but I'm not urging or requiring, or I don't have the right to do that to anybody. And they're all volunteers anyway.
That's right.
It just, automatic aid agreement would kind of be a chief's type duty, I would think. So I was kind of surprised when I saw it. And I was kind of surprised when Chief Marlar didn't discuss it with me. That probably surprised me more because he's a good guy. I'm very disappointed.
He's a great guy. Do you have something? Oh, I'm sorry, dear.
Is there going to be any monetary
No,
in the future for that?
not at this time. That hasn't been discussed
And
at
have
all.
you taken the time to look at the run cards?
Yes.
To see what they are right now and
First
see
thing-
where the automatic aid comes from automatically?
That was the first thing that they requested was that I went and met with the supervisor at dispatch and picked up all the run cards and brought them back to Marlar and Bullock.
So, which happens, unfortunately, it's happened more over the last 5 years, is during the day when people aren't available, you have nobody respond. They're going to respond, or is it going to have to be a request that they respond?
No, they're going to respond automatically, always. That's what he's told me.
How do they know?
Okay.
They'll be dispatched for it.
How do they know? People haven't showed up.
So it really hasn't changed because they've already, in different areas of the district, whether it be 10 Mile, Winston, or Fire District 2, they've already had automatic aid.
That's correct. This is strictly for what I just read here. It's only if they're
So you have
notified.
concern that you're gonna be without firefighters.
Correct.
And you told several people at a meeting down the street here one day that you could replace any of us, all of us, at any one given point. Is that still true?
Oh, I told somebody that, Gary?
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Right in front of a whole group of people down there, you did. You were talking to me and you said, and I got a phone call that night wanting to know if everybody was walking.
Never said the thing.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, Risa?
My comment about this and why we looked into this, because I've read them, and like I said, our attorney added the ORSs, because this is a safety thing. This is something that I looked at from a very safety standpoint only, and that is if for some reason, like you said, if somebody's sick or we have too many people sick, because we don't have necessarily that many that can respond.
At the same time,
What, not?
or too many runs at the same time.
Exactly. This is just simply covering another aspect of our district. It's purely for safety because everything else is still in place. And like we said, there's not going to be a financial obligation to this. This is just better coverage.
So are they also going, is this just structure fire, or is this all calls? Or, I mean, do I know now that I'm going to have somebody in my back pocket? If I show up here and there's two of us from on a motor vehicle accident, is there going to be somebody else automatically in my back pocket?
Is
the board going to call and say, we need help?
No, this is going to be run through dispatch, and Marlar will, if we end up...
But dispatch doesn't know what I've got here in the way of manpower. So
This doesn't take effect until they are notified that we have a problem out here. If you're standing here ready to go and you're in this, and we've got firefighters standing there ready to go, then there isn't a problem.
No, but I'm the only one here. Now there's a problem.
Well, if there's only one firefighter, then we don't have a functioning fire department.
Okay, but how does District 2 or dispatch know that?
Because they are notified that we don't have a functioning fire department. We do as a board. We have to notify
How
them.
do you know that? I'm
You carry a
standing out
pager?
here.
Are you carrying a pager? How do you know there's only one guy here? And he can't go
If,
anywhere.
if we're sitting here and we only have 2 firefighters that are lined up and on board at this station, everybody else has walked, then we know that we don't
I think
have...
you're worrying too much, Bob. You're worrying way too much. You don't know these people.
This isn't...
I'm not
Guys.
talking about that people walk. I'm talking that there's 16 people on the fire department, and I get here and I got a motor vehicle accident down the street here. I've got an ambulance coming and I've got no way to respond to it. How does dispatch know to dispatch somebody else?
Because this situation is a situation that will only occur if we don't have staff.
What happens if somebody did, hey, it's
The
coincidence,
fire department.
if somebody's sick, they're out of
Does
town,
everybody quit?
they're at work,
Then the regular automatic aid, the regular automatic and mutual aids kick in.
And that's
no,
where it's
he's got one thing in his
Well,
mind.
for instance, it was like when Carol got hurt.
No, this is ridiculous.
And Doug too responded, and these guys responded. It's the same thing.
No, those two came with an ambulance like they always do.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's still the automatic aid.
I guess we as a board, if I can just say
I think personally, you should have got together with Steve on that and hashed that out, and you guys could have came up with a good solution and made it not sound like you're making it sound.
Why don't you volunteer for the board?
No, thank you.
Been there, done.
Well, we need other input, don't
You see the 3 up there?
we? Well, we need one more. In fact, we need 2 more.
You had several, then.
4 others.
We've had 4 others.
Not bad.
It's not working.
Well,
Something's not working. And I'm not gonna, no.
you got the most experience here.
We have both.
But my way was all wrong.
Steve's easy.
My way was all wrong, because they're coming in, let's not talk about it now, let's not hold up the board.
We're off the thing a little bit. What I want to say though is that if there was no staff, if the firefighters walked in this place,
I need
this agreement here
need some water. I need to.
I just want you to know, they're not gonna bring units out here or anything. They're gonna be responding from wherever they respond from. They're gonna be outside the 5-mile district. So if this goes on any more than temporary, well, I'll tell you what happened. We all go to a 10 because there's no fire sources within 5 miles. But so this isn't their routine mutual aid and automatic stuff is great. It is in our back pocket. It guarantees me I got a paid engine coming on a fire call and stuff. But as a taxpayer and a citizen of this district, if there was no firefighters here, this agreement is not a satisfactory fire department. I'll say that. There's nobody within 5 miles. So.
District. I want to direct the question to Steve. What do you have in place right now if Tom Johnson comes down, he gets no additional help or only one, and you send out a vehicle and he knows it's not enough? What is his requirement to do?
We request mutual aid.
And he gets on the phone and calls dispatch, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any problem with that?
No, that's
Okay,
that's not what
Tom
this agreement's
presented
about.
that to Bob here. Now, he should know, he's experienced a firefighter, that if he doesn't have enough men to man a vehicle to send on out on the emergency, call dispatch. They automatically will send out mutual aid.
I think he was trying to make a point that maybe the fire department should be involved in the automatic aid agreements, maybe because we know what to do. That's what he's trying to say, but that's okay. I think that's what he was trying to say. But I don't know. I'm not
I was
speaking
trying to
for-
clarify. I know what to do at this moment in time, but the board is going to control that. Then I need phone numbers to call you and get a hold of you so you can call dispatch and tell them to send automatic aid.
Which will take a while.
Let me start over just for a moment. This is a worst-case scenario situation. This board has to have a solution for that worst-case scenario. The worst-case scenario is that we don't have a functioning fire station for whatever reason, period. And there wasn't a solution for that in that file cabinet in there anywhere. There wasn't a solution for that in Greg Marlar's opinion. When I approached him with it, he said, this is the solution. It doesn't change the mutual aid. It doesn't change the automatic aid as it is currently existing. This is purely for the moment that this board notifies everybody else that we do not have a functioning fire station. And the only time that will happen is if we don't have enough people to man this station. It's as simple as that. This is totally a worst case scenario and we have to do it.
Would you not agree it kind of sends a message to the volunteers that maybe you don't want us, that you're looking to get rid of us?
Why would
I don't
that,
know why.
why would that be?
But why
Well,
would
I
that be
had no
interpreted?
plans in leaving, and so, you know, what's this all about all of a sudden?
It's about the same situation that you look at when you sit up at this table and you have to have an answer for a worst case scenario. And frankly, if Steve was to have to leave today and everybody out here had some other reason that they chose to leave, we don't have any control over that. You can all leave at any moment that you choose, just like we basically can. Okay, well, if that happens, we have a responsibility to this district to have a solution for that. And we didn't have it. It wasn't there. And this gives us that solution.
Can we get automatic aid for the board now?
It would be nice. We didn't do this on our choice. This was coordinated with Chief Marlar, and he thought that this was a good idea. I didn't think it was anything major. He basically agreed to it. I sat down with Joe Waldron. He did the same thing. He thought it was a good idea. So I don't really see what the adversity is. This is a deal that if this doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'd like to make sure that this never happens. But if it does happen, we have to have a solution. Yes, sir, Jerry.
Personally, I can understand your reasoning for wanting to have this kind of an agreement. My concern is the way that you went about it. You talked earlier about the importance of teamwork, and yet you seem to have excluded the chief in going about this. That's my concern, not the agreement itself, the way you went about doing it.
Okay? Fair enough.
Is that going to continue, that the chief is going to be excluded from the decision-making process?
The chief won't be excluded from any of this process, and neither would the firefighters if we had a team effort occurring here currently.
But that wasn't a team effort.
Well, we don't have a
You
team
explained
effort here
that.
right now. This district doesn't have a team effort. We're working at that.
Okay, but the board, from my perspective, made a conscious decision to exclude the chief in the way you went about developing.
In reality, Steve excluded himself when he made his outburst at the last board meeting.
I don't agree with that.
Well, that was our decision.
That's exactly the point. It was your decision to exclude him.
It was our decision to protect this district with an agreement like this.
Okay.
Okay.
You're there to work for the chief, though. You should have gotten hold of him.
Perhaps.
No. You
I
should.
don't think you should vote on it until you had time to discuss it with him.
And we don't have any motion on the floor yet.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there is.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor for which one?
The
So the first one for Doug too.
Doug two.
Is there any more discussion, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Can I get a motion for the second one?
I make a motion to accept the auto aid agreement with Winston Dillard.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item E is attorney correspondence. We've sent out a correspondence to David Hatch's attorney on basically a demand for a cease and desist on some of the things that have been taking place, and that's now in the hands of his attorney. Next item is budget planning.
Question here.
Yes, sir, Gary.
We don't know anything about this cease and desist thing. Can you fill us in on that?
Basically, David Hatch represented himself as a board member at the assessor's office, changed a recorded budget document by hand above 4 signatures, including 3 of the people that are sitting in this room that were board members, Janie, and it wasn't authorized. That document then went from the assessor's office to the state, and that was absolutely the wrong thing to do. The sheriff's department was involved, etc. So the attorney sent out a letter saying, don't do that again.
When did this happen?
January, what was it,
23rd.
January 23rd
of this year?
of this year. In other words, 6 months after he left office.
Oh, 24th? January 24th. Sorry.
Is this the same thing that's old business item G that you didn't cover?
Old business item G, no. That was a request for financial documents of this district, and well, actually it was multiple requests of documents from this district on a Freedom of Information request. That's what that document is. These are 2 completely separate
Was
issues.
there discussion on that since you brought it, since it was on the agenda? I mean, we didn't have any.
We did discuss it. The response letter went out to his attorney, and we're waiting to hear back. Okay. Budget planning. We have all 5 of the budget. Well, let's start with this. It was discovered that none of the budget committee members have ever been formally appointed. We can't find record of it anywhere, and the state requires that. So we now have to basically appoint those budget members with their current terms that go back to when they were originally appointed to the budget committee. And they've all agreed. Bruce Epperson, and Bruce is on his second, so he has he's got 1 more year left. Mary McWright is on her second, she has 1 more year left. Kathy Hawley is on her third, so this will be the last time. Mike Buckley is on his third, so this will be his last time, and Pam Dutton is on her third, so this will be her last time. So they've all agreed to do so we need to appoint those folks to the budget committee, and then they will start the budget process in April. Okay?
So I need a motion to appoint these people to the budget committee with these terms as I stated.
I'll make a motion that we appoint these people for the budget committee.
A second.
Anybody have any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, so we also have to elect a budget officer. And Susan, are you going to act as the budget officer? Or is that something that we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just a budget manager.
Thanks.
So I need a motion for a budget officer for this year's budget.
I make a motion we elect the budget officer.
Now you have to nominate somebody.
Oh, you want me to nominate? How about Bruce Epperson? He did a good job last year.
That Bruce was the chairman of the budget committee. This is the budget officer off of the board.
Oh, you want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
That only leaves me. I'll take it. I'll name myself as the budget officer for the new budget board.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion that I be elected as budget officer for the new upcoming board.
I'll second that motion. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so we got the, and this is just an announcement. We have a fire chief performance review that Steve has agreed to. That will be a special board meeting, public board meeting on March 21st, which is a Friday at 6 p.m. And that will be an executive session. So it's a public meeting and we'll close into an executive session, then come back for any comments or discussion afterwards with the public. So that's just an announcement. Do we have any non-agenda items that we need to discuss that weren't on this agenda? Any public comments? Yes, Jared.
Apparently non-agenda. When I asked about were you going to have a motion for who's going to be in charge of the website, you said it was on the agenda, but I don't see it.
Well, I thought that it was, but it got deleted when we wrote this agenda. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
We can do that now. Taj Gumbart has agreed to rewrite the website, or not to rewrite, that's a bad way to put it. He's going to try and make it as complete as possible so that people can access as many public records as is possible on the website. Right now, numbers of people that are involved with what we're doing, from the state through the attorneys, etc., are having a hard time getting items off of the website. So we're going to try and improve it to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And he's agreed to do that, so I would like to have a motion to put him in charge of that, and we'll begin that immediately.
I'll make a motion that Taj Gumbart become the new webmaster.
And I'll second it.
Any comments, questions? Yes, Jerry?
Is this being considered a temporary measure until a communications officer is appointed, since the operating procedures
Yes.
specify that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
He will also do the training. So we have a motion and a second for Taj to do this. Any other comments? Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item 12 is not an issue. There's no business there. We need a motion for adjournment.
I have a,
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm still waiting to see a closeout for last year's budget. Are we going to see that at some time?
A closeout for last year's budget.
Yeah, we had a budget for last year, last year's over with. I want to see where we spent our money and that it was closed out.
Well, that was prior to us taking office, so that should have been done by the previous
So it
board.
was George Bush's fault.
Yeah. No?
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that? Wouldn't that have been the previous
They were in
board?
office, how would they close it out?
Kent Little did your review.
Hmm?
Kent Little did your review.
Yeah.
In lieu of review, it's actually the term.
Okay.
It's instead of you, so we get you a copy.
Okay, well, I'd like to see it. I mean, I'm a taxpayer, I want to know where my money was spent, and it's not there. It was there for the previous year. But it's not there
It will be
for,
when you get, when this gets put together, the review.
this will have the
has-
previous budget
has-
cycle?
Yeah, it'll have 3,
Okay.
actually.
That answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, I'll be looking
The
for it.
review has a little,
And it'll be online, or I can, or do I have to come back and get it?
We're gonna try and have everything online.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the whole goal that we have.
okay.
Yeah, Jerry.
Yeah, I
Jerry.
forgot to, I usually ask the chief this, but on the 31st of this month, which is a Monday, I'd like to know if I could use the meeting room for a OSHA meeting that I have through my work at B&B Roads.
Anybody have a problem with that? Rita?
No?
George?
No.
Don't have any problem with that at all? As long as that you coordinate it.
The
31st of March?
It's a Monday. I'll get with you on it, so you can let me in on that.
Okay. That's for B&B, right?
Yeah.
And Bert knows about this?
Yeah.
I just had to ask. I don't know.
That's for a safety
I guess so,
meeting?
he's paying for it.
A
I would
sa-
hope.
A safety meeting?
Yeah, it's an OSHA meeting that we go through yearly. We've always used the place in the past
You're looking for a
What time?
7 a.m.
Does it go all day?
Sometimes,
Okay.
it probably will, because there's CPR also part of it this year.
We'll just put begins at 7. That way there won't be any insurance questions or anything. So yes. Why don't somebody make them, let's just make this formal, that way insurances and everything are fine. So let's have a motion to allow Gary and his OSHA meeting to take place here in this
Is that
building.
for B&B Roads?
It's for B&B
For B&B Roads.
I'll make a
Well,
motion,
Gary's gonna be the guy, the contact
Yeah.
guy.
but it's for behest of B&B.
B&B Roads, correct.
I'll make a motion that we allow Gary to conduct OSHA meeting on the 31st,
Yes.
31st of March at 7 a.m. till when? Till complete?
All day.
Yeah, it
Okay.
could be all day.
Till whenever.
A second.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Now may I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Kind of surprised that everybody here makes too much of it at first.
Yeah.
How long do you I hope that's not a harbinger of things to
Yeah.
Still what?
Oh, yeah, Kathy. Do we win now?
Yeah.